So this is my second video about having ships set as locomotives to use on invisible track in Trainz railsim. So first of all, let's get a blank grid up. Here we are in Tame. Just go for the default route. Now, one of the things that struck me about this when I was first looking at this was the way in which Trainz adds C. So let's put a lot of C in, and so this is just a flat grid, and there's the sea appearing on top. Well, of course, I was thinking that naturally enough the sea is always at sea level, which is, you know, 0 feet. That's how you set sea level. But if we go over to the grid and we drop down, the sea is actually about, I think it's about 2 meters higher than the ground. So if we're going to use this for without lowering the ground, that is, so with 0 is the correct, we can either alter the terrain, take the terrain down 2 meters for the sea, or we can just leave it as it is and have the sea in actual fact at about 2 meters above ground level, which is a bit odd. But then that's the way I've set these ships. So if you are going to add ships, then let's get this grid back. There we are. So let's add some invisible track. Now that, of course, is set down at 0 feet. You can see here, and it's below the level at which sea, zoom in a bit, at which sea appears in Trainz railsim. So if I put say my little Clyde puffer, which has got the bogey set for the track at the correct distance on the side of the puffer, then we got a problem because it's actually underwater. So of course this means, and certainly there wouldn't be smoking because the boilers would be out. So let's take it out. Let's go back to the rail and let's go to advanced, come down here, and let's set the spline points at 2 meters, which may be just a bit too high. If we have a look, I think it's about there. So, you know, I think that's about where Trainz sets it. If I just put a bit of something, doesn't really matter what it is, some building, not a turntable, so that just creates problems. Let's stick a water tower in from the Settle and Carlisle. Now that gives us the, what I'm trying to do here is just use something to, so I can see the level of the sea there, and I can see that my track is here, and they're about the same heights, so we don't need that. So now if I go down here and I put my Clyde puffer on, there we are. Now that's now at the correct height. Okay. So whatever you do now, you're not fixed to using the grid at 0 meters and then the sea comes in at about 2 meters. I mean, if you want to lower this to, you know, if you do what I do, which is use Transdem, which is a brilliant program, and you actually get all of the contours of the sea, so long as the sea itself, wherever that is, wherever that's appearing, so long as your invisible track is set at 2 meters above the ground level, or wherever the 2 meters where the sea is coming in, then you're going to be okay. So you do need to sort of jiggle about a bit with it, but I think it's well worth doing. And so that's my Clyde puffer and Ailsa, and I made that a good few years back now, and I notice I can hear on the engine spec, or the engine sound, we've got some voices there. I think it's because I was using it also for various other things, but that's okay, voices are fine. But anyway, Ailsa is a little Clyde puffer, of which there used to be hundreds if not thousands operating out of the River Clyde and all around the Western Isles and the west coast of Scotland, and really important little ships that went round to the tiniest of ports and providing a valuable communication network, transporting everything along. I mean, if you want to read about them, read the Tales of Parahandy. And one of the other ships that I made, now this is about 10 years ago, is this one. Let's just get rid of Ailsa, there we are. And this is Pacific, and oops, now we're underwater, and you can see that that's a standard, quite a large ocean tramp steamer, and so that would applied usually about 5 knots, that sort of speed, 5 maybe up to 10 knots, but these really plodded along. Some of these appeared in during the Second World War in convoys, at which the average speed was only about 5, 6, 7 miles an hour. So there's Pacific, and that will run as a locomotive on the invisible track. You can set that as you wish. And then the other one, the other new one, or relatively new one, is a much smaller little tramp, very much simpler one, and you can see quite a number. Yeah, this one in particular, that's the correct colours, by the way, for the company that ran it. Quite a lot of them were rigged for sails as well. I think is that a schooner rig? I suppose I should know these things, but I don't. But these again will all sail as ocean in the sea in Trainz. And I'm just using this. Let's go there and let's make sure we've got that at the end there. I was getting it. It won't do it while I've got a nominal locomotive on the track. So we just lose that a moment, and then I can come back here and raise this. There we are. So if I put Pearl back in, there we are, and you get the idea that it's going to just chunter away. And what I've said in my first video about these ships, now there are now 4, by the way, of these. So if I put in another track, let's put another one in. Where are we? That goes there. Take that over to there, and let's give it the same height. Keep all of your, there we are. And of course what you can do then is set up a whole series of commands along this, just as you would for a train, for a locomotive going along. So my advice would be to put several blocks, add plenty of sea, as it were, further out, and take these right out to the horizon, and then sit them there for, I don't know, half an hour, however long you like, and then bring them back. I also would be one that you could just chunch around. So those are my 4 ships. Those are ones that I made a good few years back now. I think about between 8 and 10 years ago. But so they're fairly simple. They're not particularly brilliant in the way of detail, or even some of the hulls look a bit angular. But what they do, what their intention was, my intention with them in the first place, was to use them for filling up harbours and for at the dockside. Well, now we've got 4 of them which will just steam off into the sunset, if you like, if that's what you want to do, and you can set it up on like a completely separate little railway route with one ship on it, and it leaves the docks and it sails away, and then it stays beyond the horizon for half an hour, and then it slowly steams back, and all the rest of it on a circular route. I'm sure there's plenty of things that you could come up with that would make these a very useful addition to any dockside terminus or dockside layout. But the key thing there is to make sure you get this invisible track and the sea level correct, because these all have 2 invisible bogies, and those bogies are set at 0 height, so they will be at exactly the height of the invisible track. And this particular invisible track I've just used, this one here, invisible track BNSF 50, just because it is visible. I mean, I don't know, Visio Rail, let's have a look there. No, nothing, I can't see that. So I like to be able to see these things in Surveyor. There's various, some of these are from built-in or from other models which I've downloaded. These are dependencies. Invisible, this is meant to show, yeah, you've got a very pale one there, look. Probably use that one as well. I'm not sure quite where that's come from, but if we take that up to, I think on one of these I found that when I added extra, the first bit disappeared. No, that was obviously a mistake on my part. So there we are. There's several different types of invisible track that you can use to plot the path of these ships. And just as with my Graf Zeppelin and other airships, where you put the invisible track up in the sky, you just put these along to make sure they're correct with the height of the sea, and then just sail away, sail away, sail away. Okay, so there we are. These should be available by Christmas 2018. The next update of my website will be, I would guess, in a week or two. So hopefully just before Christmas I'll be able to just release these. And I would stress they are simply, all I've done is converted older models into locomotives. So the older models are still there. You can have, you know, these ships just as static items in a dock. But what I am doing is considering making quite a few more different types. And my core period that I'm aiming for is between about 1890 and say 1930. So that's the sort of period that I'm really most interested in. Okay, so there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's interested you to make you consider downloading these and to deploy them on your model railway, or your railway layout, your railsim, I should say, model railway, for goodness sake. And I think they look quite effective. I mean, maybe they look more effective the further away you get, but I think they're pretty good as models. And the great thing is they're relatively low poly and look the part. So fill in that harbour. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, or if you've got any questions or queries or comments, please do post them. And please subscribe to my channel. It's completely free. There's no commitment. I don't know who you are when you subscribe. You won't get any emails from me or anything. I think YouTube might remind you or tell you when there's another video posted, but that's the most of it. And I think you can even unsubscribe from that. But please do subscribe to my channel, which is ING and then the numeral 4 and then Trainz, because it's Irish narrow gauge for Trainz, which was my main initial groups of models. And look out for the next one, because it'll be coming relatively soon.